Hi, I'm glad to be with you again today for the Greg Pinneo podcast. As I told you on the podcast zero, we're going to start every podcast we do with a word, a bit of a word study, just to sort of riff a bit on a word of great endeavor. And oftentimes I'm going to pick a word that truly represents the topic and or the guest that I'm going to be interviewing. And today I'll be interviewing Mr. Steve Nyes. You're going to get to know him really well. And the word of the day absolutely and completely describes Steve Nyes. And that word is the word tenacity. When I riff on that word, what I think of is that we have a choice in life, not when and how we get knocked down. Sometimes it happens. We didn't see it coming. It just happens. But we do have a choice on whether we get back up or not. Getting back up is tenacity. It's getting a setback and choosing to get back in the game, choosing not to quit, choosing to keep coming at it, keep coming at it, keep coming at it, keep coming at it. And I can tell you, because this is one of my best friends, and I've known him for a very, very long time, that in certain situations, the only way to get him to quit would be to kill him. I mean, literally end it, because he won't quit. He just won't quit. And to me, this word is a word that is at the centerpiece of every great endeavor. There is such a big difference between interested and committed. Committed means you are tenacious, because things will happen. Things will come up that will deter you, that will take you in different directions, that will waylay your plans, that will put things to a halt, that will really stop the train. But whether it stays stopped or not is up to you. And that's the quality of tenacity. So with that, I want to begin by introducing Steve. Thanks for being here. Steve, you and I could talk for days. We have more stories than two people could possibly have. We've known each other since the mid 80s. We've been everywhere. We've done everything. We've got days of stories. But I would like to ease into this by having you take us back before I met you. I want you to go back to the way you were raised, to your high school years, leading up to the first big question I want to ask you is I believe everybody gets a big break in life. And what was your first big break? Now, that's a lot in a sentence or a paragraph, but take it from there, would you?
Wow, first big break. Man, I think my first big break is when I ran away and I was 14, living in the woods. Girl felt sorry for me and she introduced me to her parents, and I got a roof under my head after 3 months of living in the woods. That felt like a big break.
That was a big break.
I've had a lot of them, but that was my first.
But in the context of that big break, you've told us something about your childhood or your raising that I never even considered, and that's that I needed to run away at age 14. Elaborate. You chose to do that.
Well, it's like a double-edged sword. You know, my father was a very disciplinary man, raised as a Catholic, a lot of kids. He brought in a lot of people, helped a lot of people, and but unfortunately, I was his target. I think I was probably a really high-spirited child. Still not my fault. As a parent, you know, you got to learn how to parent children, and that man abused me weekly for ever since I can remember, 3 or 4 years old. So it was brutal. It was brutal beatings. And so it's like through all those beatings, I learned to block out pain. I learned to read my environment. To this day, I'm really good at reading my environment. When you get abused like that, that's your only way of feeling safe. You got to learn how to protect yourself. So it's kind of odd. There's benefits that come out of extreme pain. Even though I was abused that bad, there's a lot of really great benefits that I got out of it.
Hmm.
You know,
Hmm.
I learned how to read situations. But then I had to overcome that because then I wasn't very good at being in relationships because I was never taught love. I didn't even know what the hell love was.
Mm-hmm.
I just knew how to get beat. Beat bad, naked and whipped with a belt and sit down there for 20 minutes and bleeding. It was a weekly event. But that's that. And I overcame a lot of that by just sheer will and the desire to want something more, to make money, how to make money. And even through all of that, my dad was like a really good man. As crazy as that sounds, he was a really loving guy, but he had this other side to him that was just absolutely sadistic. I mean, it was truly sadistic. And he was really loved in the community, went to the Catholic Church. I mean, all of us were sitting in the front pews, all lined up perfectly. We looked like the perfect family, and so, the he taught me to be honest. He beat it into me. He didn't nurture it into me. He beat it into me. Man, I would never try to lie. I mean, he would just beat the shit out of me. Don't you ever freaking lie, and so he had all these qualities. But isn't that odd that I picked up all these great qualities through abuse? That's really odd. And then I got all the great benefits of learning how to be strong, learning how to not feel pain. That's not necessarily a benefit, but it was when I was younger. And to this day, well, that's a whole different story. Spent $500,000 on therapy, work through all this stuff. I mean, back when I was 14, when I ran away, I remember, I got in trouble with alcohol and some drugs, and I was heading to prison and ran into this lawyer that really liked me. See, I was always likable. Even when I was a drug dealer, I was an honest drug dealer. I never ripped anybody off because my dad beat that into me. I mean, isn't that a great quality to be a punk, long-haired, and you're still being honest?
Honorable.
God,
An honorable drug
I was probably
dealer.
the most honest drug dealer out there, and I made a lot of money.
Yeah.
Because everybody trusted me. Wow, dude, you got good stuff, and you don't even short us.
Right. Yeah.
So, man, so it was just because of that nature of me, even through all that abuse, I was a really good person, and people liked me, even with long hair and confused. And I remember when I went to my first program, it's like, man, they started talking about feelings and, just like learning how to, I didn't even know what feelings were. It's like, what the hell are you guys talking about? I mean, I'd sit in a group of 4 or 5 people. I couldn't even talk. I literally could not get a word out of my mouth. I couldn't even talk. I had to learn how to talk and then learn how to express emotions and even know what emotions were. It took this therapist like almost a year before I could like identify a feeling. It's like, yeah, you're mad, sad, glad, happy. It's like, oh, whoa, it took me a while to like identify that. As crazy as that sounds. So, man, it was years. It was like 10, 15, 20 years of therapy before I was able to work through all of that. And then, finally kind of just like move on with life without having to do so much therapy. But, man, I don't know. There's so many stories. I mean, I don't know where you want to go with this one, but that's the beginning of it.
Let me pick up on this, that somewhere, certainly now, you're able to look at this and actually, as you said, pull some benefits out of this completely dysfunctional, horrific upbringing. There's some qualities that you learned that you have identified that still serve you today. Can you name a couple of those qualities that serve you today, day in and day out? What you learned there that you feel actually is a benefit in your backpack that you pack around today?
Yeah, so I wasn't able to identify all those until after probably 15 years of therapy. You know, it's probably, I don't know, 30, 35, where I kind of start turning and looking back at that going, wow, you know, instead of like always trying to blame my dad and blame my life, you know, I started looking at it through a different light. You know, it's like, hey, I'm an adult. I can start, you know, identifying what I learned through all of that, um and like take responsibility for my life, and you know, and all the growth that I got through therapy. You know, I grew up a different side of myself. When you have that kind of abuse, you know, you have this just this one side, and that's all you know. And through therapy, it's kind of, they call it the adult side of yourself, that, you know, kind of helps you talk to this child that got abused. And through the years, this adult becomes bigger than that child, you know. But my whole life was being run by this abused child, and wow, you're like out of control. You know, you have no skills set to live in life. You have no skill set for emotions. You have no skill set for relationships. So the combination of therapy, and then the combination after learning the therapy, you can look back at your life and look at all of that abuse and all of that pain and find the benefits in it. There's really beautiful benefits. So now you've even got a bigger toolbox.
Right.
You know, a really powerful toolbox if you can identify it. You know, you get to program who you are. You have a choice in any moment now. You know, I could take all those years of all of that I've been through and all that money. I mean, I've read every damn book. I've been to every damn freaking program and shit, therapy. You know, I'm not kidding. Over half, that was a lot of money back then. $500,000. I mean, it was my life.
A lot of money right now.
Yeah. But, you know, you could sum all that up. Met this wonderful woman in another program that I did. I was in Arizona. She took me for a walk and she goes, "Wow, Steve, you're amazing." She goes, "You have done a lot of work. And I just want you to ponder something. I want you to realize that if you can understand this, if you can learn how to meditate and just let your mind get rid of all your thoughts, and I want you to practice doing that. Just say, let it go, let it go, let it go. Clear your mind. And then if you can then clear your mind and then start implementing positive thoughts into your mind, you can literally switch your state of being in any moment. That's the whole trick to therapy, is change your mind. You change your thoughts, it'll change your feelings, and then it'll change your actions. There it all is. And man, that just woke me up. I said, wow, why didn't somebody tell me that like freaking 25 years ago?
Yeah, about $500,000 worth ago.
There's the trick to life.
Right.
You can change your state like that in a nanosecond. That's it.
It's wild. You know, we don't get to choose as a kid. We don't get to choose the environment. It's like the ultimate lottery. There you are, bam, somebody, you know, smacks your butt, you're breathing, you're alive, you're zero. Okay, and you look up, if you even remember, and you hope that there's two people there that love you, that wanted you, and that are reasonably qualified. But oftentimes, a lot of other things are at the end of the bed, if anything at all. And I was blessed. I won the lottery. I had two there that, although they didn't know much and they admitted they didn't know much, they loved me and they built their world around me, and everything they did was doing something that they really felt was great for me and my brother. We won the lottery. We did. But it is a lottery. Family as a whole is a crapshoot. You know, you go, wow, how am I related to you? You can't even get your head around it. You took a different kind of lottery. You got a short stick in the drawing. But what you've done with it is extraordinary. And we're going to get to that. And I think that there's some elements, as you said, about what you had to deal with and how you had to navigate. You solve problems every day, like a million of them, it feels like, that look sometimes effortless. But compared to the problems you have navigated, you have a different perspective of what a problem even looks like. That's my take on this, is that you've got this reference that is so deep in you that when something comes up, you just know how to navigate it. It doesn't move your gauge all that much. You start thinking about the solution and you move to a solution, which I think is a core gift in the world of entrepreneurship. The ability to stay calm because you're navigating all kinds of things, sometimes feeling very much over your skis. It's not your department, you know. What do you know about marketing and accounting and sales and operations and all of the various parts of it? You have to learn it and be calm in navigating it. So I think that through our interview, you're going to see a lot of things that you're really good at. And I guess the question that we all should be asking is any part of that gift tied to the adversity that you were handed early on? I think in part some of it was, you know, your innate ability to navigate. You mentioned awareness. You see things. You're incredibly observant. You know, some people would just walk right through. They wouldn't see a thing. You'd see 50 things because your eyesight and your awareness is so keen because it had to be, right? Yeah. So, you've run a business for a long time. Take me back to the earliest years of you starting a business, and what you know, I mean, really, it may have been right, you know, in the small business under the table of dealing with drugs, who knows? But take me through a progression of your business years, of you being an entrepreneur, doing your own thing from way back then till now. Just give me a timeline of that journey, would you?
Yeah, it's honestly, it started, you know, back when I was a paper boy, Seattle Times, getting out every day early in the mornings and delivering the papers, and then they had this little contest, whoever could sell the most, you know, they win a trip to Victoria, Canada, and that was like, you know, so I just went out and sold it and did it. It was like a no-brainer. You know, it's like nobody even came close, and then there was like this little competition at St. Luke's. When I used to go to St. Luke's, they had this thing where whoever get the most Campbell's labels on a soup cans, you know, fuck, I don't know. I had it was a ridiculous amount. I mean, like maybe 20,000 or 15. I can't even remember the amount, but the whole school didn't even have that much. So it's like, I started looking at myself, you know, you know, God, it's like no big deal. Why is everybody making a big deal out of it? You know, it's just like, it was like a no-brainer, right. You know, it's just like, I just did it, you know.
Give me your soup label. What's to it?
I know. I just went knocked on everybody's door and give me, you know, no, I don't want one. You got them all there. Give them all, you know.
Right. There's a felt pen. Just write on the can, it's tomato. Or be surprised. I don't care. Just give me the label.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know where all that came from, because, you know, I wasn't very good. I guess I was good one-on-one. When you add another person to the room, I just like clammed up. So it started with that. And then my dad bought me a lawnmower. He says, hey, you're doing all these people's papers. Why don't you go ask them to mow their yard? So shit, before I knew it, I mean, I couldn't even keep up with all the damn yards. So then I started hiring a couple other kids to help me, and I started making brackets to, you know, walk with a lawnmower with an edger on top, and, you know, and so again, you know, as crazy as my dad was, you know, he's the one that kind of pushed me into that entrepreneurship, you know. Mm-hmm. And he didn't buy me the lawnmower. He goes, you go up to the damn guy that's selling the lawnmower and ask me if you can make payments. You're going to start cutting yards. I go, what? So I walked in there. I said, hey, you know, I'm going to start cutting yards. My dad said if I came in here, you might let me make payments. The guy goes, well, let me think about that a second. And he comes back. He goes, you know what? Go ahead and take that mower. You just come back every week and, you know, pay me for it. So, you know, started a lawn mowing business, you know. Guy didn't know me from frickin' Adam.
A zero down promissory note, uncollateralized.
Yeah. So, you know, there are, you know, God, then simultaneously, I'm still dealing drugs. You know, I always had drugs. You know, when you're that much pain, you know, people that have, you know, been through that kind of stuff, you usually numb yourself with something, you know. So but, you know, I was a responsible drug dealer. I didn't do them all the time, you know, because I had to keep my head to myself, you know. I had to mow the yards. I had to do the newspapers. I had to, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, so it's, you know, kind of kept it together. And then after that, Seattle Times noticed that I won that trip, and they asked me to come into the Seattle Times building, and that was like really odd. I mean, my hair was like down to here, and smelled like weed. And show up down to this corporate Seattle Times building. They said, "Hey, we want to send you out and go do some sales. We got like 150 sales guys here. You want to go do that?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So I jump in the car. We go out and start selling all over Seattle, and then they wound up giving me the biggest paper route down there. I delivered all the papers to all the downtown Seattle, but then on the sales thing, after a month, there's like 150 guys in there, and they called me up to the front of the room, and I saw my name up there on the board, and I just absolutely slaughtered I mean, there used to be a top sales guy there for 2 years, and I just absolutely slaughtered the guy. It's like I was making 4,000 or 4,500 a month. Like 50 years ago as a freaking 15, 16-year-old kid or however old I was. And then that just like really freaked me out. Everybody's just like coming out. How do you do that? How do you do that? Can we come with you? Yeah, come with. So I try and teach and train people. They still couldn't, they'd get a little bit better, but they couldn't do what I did, So, then I just realized, oh, wow, I can do something here. I don't know what it is, but it's like, you know what it was? I just wouldn't let people shut the door. If they try to shut the door, I put my foot there. Yeah. I would not let them shut the door. I just would not let them say no, Yeah. And I stayed there until they said yes. And they felt so bad. And all right, God, I'll sign the damn thing,
Right.
So, yeah, I was like, I don't know. I always had that in me. I'm not sure exactly where that came from, but. Mm-hmm. And then from there, then I started selling firewood, and God, then firewood led to, climbing the trees and topping them and trimming them. And that got like wild and crazy. And that was a lot of money. And, but then I got tired of that. I didn't really feel like I wanted to kill myself. And then, I was doing trees for the town of Woodway. And, then I worked for a paving company a little bit in the summer, Meyer and Adlin, who was a really good, one of the best paving companies. And, they were having this company do their paving, and I said, "Hey, I could do this paving for you guys. Go give me the equipment, and I'll do it for you." So they gave me a checkbook. And they said, "Hey, go buy us all our equipment to do all our paving." So I bought all their equipment, and then they said they needed a dump truck, and they didn't have a dump truck, but they wanted to get this patching done next week. So shit, I just ran really quick and bought this ugliest truck you ever seen in your life. It had moss all over it. And I said, "You guys can lease the truck for me." So they leased the truck for me, and I started doing all their paving, and they leased this truck for me for like a whole year. God, I made a shitload of dough off of this piece of crap.
This was the city of Woodway.
City of Woodway. I'm the one that started their whole paving program down there. And then so after a year of doing that, I realized, wow, why am I doing this for them? I'm just going to go do this myself. And so then I started my own paving company. Just started buying little pieces of equipment here and there, and again, I really lucky, man. People liked me. I ran into a really good mentor, and he was teaching me how to run a business. And then, with my ex-wife, she was going to college, and we got involved with SBA, and they started teaching us how to do budgets and forecasting, and and learning all the really important things, and job costing, all that stuff is like so important around a business. I see businesses this day that don't even have budgets. They don't even job cost their stuff. It's like, are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. So, and this mentor set me up with an interview with one of the best paving companies in Western Washington, So, man, I mean, that's the trick to life, It's proximity, being around the best. If you're going to be successful, you got to be around the best. You got to be the tip of the spear. If you ain't, forget it. Get out of what you're doing. You've got to be the best. Mm-hmm. So a lot of this is like luck, but I worked really hard, and people liked me. Mm-hmm. I think that's the key. You got to be a good person. If people see that, they attract to that. Yeah. So that's kind of what I put it on, because I was always honest, and I was a really good person, and they set me up with Seattle Service, and man, that guy became my mentor. I talked to him almost every day, if not every other day. And they started referring me all kinds of work, man. So, man, not only was I working for the best company, I was learning how to run a business. And, then I had the attitude of always doing really high quality work, no matter what it cost, because I really cared about what I did. I was really passionate. Man, I was the only, and, the guy told me back then, he goes, "Dude, if you're going to do this, you're going to go in there, you're going to be the best that this freaking state has, or you might as well just forget it." A long-haired guy that's got drugs in his back pocket, and he's still stoned. And do you really think that I could think that I was going to be the best paving company in the state of Washington back then? I just kind of agreed to it, but I was going to give it my best shot.
But then again, you had a reference of being the best newspaper salesman, right? The best, soup can collector, or label collector. You had some success that gave you some confidence. So you almost didn't know what you couldn't do. There was this sense of, I guess I can do anything. So you just went for it.
Yep. Yeah.
So that first year of your first company, describe your equipment and your crew. Your very first year. What did that equipment and crew look like?
It was probably like 3 guys, and I was the estimator, I was the dump truck driver, I was the roller, I was the raker, I was the mechanic. Oh my God. I've never worked so hard in all my life. Every morning I woke up at like 4:00. I had to go work on all my stuff, make sure it was working before the guys showed up. And then we go pave all day. And, God, back then I didn't even have a loader. It was all by hand, man. We were busting concrete and asphalt with sledgehammers and picks and loading it by hand. I mean, it was brutally tough. So I busted my ass, man. And back then too, we were just doing small stuff, and I was like learning as I was going, this is a school of hard knocks, it's like, so the guys, that was a big learning process too. I've never managed guys before, and I was kind of, rough around the edges, I was not a very nice guy when I was dealing with guys, So they started quitting on me, because I got a loud voice anyhow, Even though I'm a nice guy right now, people still think I'm, arrogant and an asshole, but I'm really not. I just got a loud voice, right? So, then that's when I really got back into therapy. I'm going, wow, man, I'm really pissing people off. What do you got to do different to not piss people off? So then I started like just really getting into therapy and psychology and relationships, and studying that. And man, that's what really changed my life, changed my business world, because I actually started understanding how to relate to people and how to talk to people. And wow, you have to actually talk nice to them. You actually have to have empathy, and you have to actually listen to them and hear what they say, It's just not all about you. It's not funny.
Light bulb. Yeah. You don't know what you don't know, but you knew that you didn't know it, so you went and learned it.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Right. Wow. That's so if you were to just give me a glimpse of your employees, your equipment, your business, your volume today, just ballpark.
Today?
Yeah, today.
It's over 6 million.
Mm-hmm. And so this is a span of mid 80s, starting your own company. About right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've been at it 35 plus years, 38
40
years.
Yeah, around there.
Yeah. That's extraordinary. I mean, I think that just that, again, what was the word? Tenacity. To stay in a tough business that is so volatile in terms of weather and conditions and scheduling and keeping a crew on and economies, and oh my God, you couldn't pick a tougher business to be consistent in its flow, and yet here you are, almost 40 years of doing it, not just standing, but really doing really well. And I don't know. I love that. When you look at hiring people, Steve, especially sort of knowing yourself, right? When you just said it, you were rough around the edges, but you were a good person and you worked hard and you were honest. What do you look for when you're hiring somebody on your crew? You got a lot of people on your crew, both in the field, but in the administration side of things. What do you look for when you hire a person?
Well, character for sure. It's like not so much the skill. I look for character. You can teach the other stuff. You can't teach character, and and if you have somebody that has good character, you're gonna go somewhere with that person. And so that's asking really good questions, and a lot of times you can get fooled too by people. It's like, but it's one of my good skills, one of my strong strengths. I can really read people, you know. So I've been pretty good, pretty fortunate. But because I'm a nice guy and I got a really big heart, I kind of let some of these people rough around the edges stay around a little bit too long because of my heart and where I came from. But got some really cool success stories too, where I really hung in with some that didn't deserve it.
Well, that sort of segues to maybe the answer for the next question I have is that as you look at your professional life and your involvement with people and what that business is calling on you and allowing you to do day in and day out, what do give me something you've done that you've felt really good about, where you just inside you felt, I feel good about this. You mentioned one, maybe give somebody a chance that nobody else would have. But I don't want to put words in your mouth. What do you feel good about in this journey that you've done?
I think it's got to be that. It's definitely that. It's, you know, when I was younger growing up, I just remember the pain of like, God, is there anybody out here that like cares? Is there anybody that wants to help? I mean, I just didn't seem like I had anybody around that could like give me the answers. You know, even if you ask somebody, they still wouldn't give you the answer. You know, it's like, seems like even nowadays, you know, until you really get things figured out and you hang around the right people, you got to hang around the right people to get the right answers. A lot of people want to give a lot of answers, but they ain't really the right answer, you know. And you want the right answer, you got to hang around the best. If you want to, you know, that's the tough thing. So I think for me is my whole life was like giving back, always wanting to give back, but I didn't really make it.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't know I wasn't really doing it for the acknowledgement. So a lot of times I live a kind of a quiet, silent stuff that I do for people. Some people will never know. It doesn't really matter to me because, you know, I don't know. That's just who I am. I can't help it, you know. And man, being open and being honest, it's crazy. You know, there's a lot of people out there have a lot of pain. And when you're open and honest like that, you're a freaking target. And they come after you and they will freaking backstab you, you know. But they can only backstab you if you allow them to backstab you. So, you know, that's what's made me really smart over the years. I keep giving and giving, and no one's going to stop me from doing that, even though they stab me. You know, you learn from the stabbings. You just go, wow, okay, well, what did I do here? You know, what kind of more boundaries do I need to set up? You know, you just get smarter and smarter and smarter. The more you get stabbed, the more you get jabbed, the more you get hurt. You can take that and get really, really bitter, or you can open up more and get smarter. So that's been the story of my life.
And I'm not going to take this story because it's, you know, you want to keep certain things confidential, but I can attest to, because you give a lot, because you can give a lot, because you're a giver. I've watched you getting taken advantage of. I've watched people steal from you. I've watched people that you bring in close that just take advantage of it. And I honestly think that is almost goes with anyone who's a real giver. It's that when you are a giver, hang on, because there are going to be those who want to be carried, or who take advantage of your ability to carry a big pack. And I've watched it in your life, and we've talked about this. It's I get protective of you because it just happens a lot. And I think you need more boundaries, to be honest with you, because I've seen it way too much. But that's just my own opinion. There's you know, when you look at your life, one thing I also know about you is that you're really competitive, and I've seen it in 100 different ways.
You want to bet?
Yeah. Yeah, we do battle. And of course, I've seen it on the golf course. You've taken a lot of money off me on the golf course, and I deserve it because I don't play as well as you most of the time. But do you?
You've been kicking my butt lately, a lot.
I'm getting back for a lot of years. But Do you think you can teach that drive, that competitive spirit of I want to be the best here. I want to really over deliver here, or is that something you have to look for in surrounding yourself with people?
I think there's some things you can instill in people. Some people just are who they are, that will just never have a whole bunch of drive, and they're happy, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned
Mm-hmm.
to like see that in people. But I think for the most part, you can teach drive, but that individual has to really really want it, and you can almost kind of instill the wantness in them too,
Mm-hmm.
But some people are projects, man. It takes a long time, they have a lot of stuff to work through and to
Mm-hmm.
figure out who they are and what they want. And
Hmm.
yeah,
All right. Well, this is a loaded question. I'm not even sure if you want to go here, but I'd like to know in your adult years. I'd like you to tell me about the greatest adversity you've been through, and how you have managed to navigate that.
wow, there's been a lot of them. I think when you live the life that I've lived, it's you create patterns in your life, and honestly, at my age now, I've just kind of started identifying like patterns. It's like a new language, a new way of looking at things, and being able to identify patterns and choosing new patterns just consciously. And when I was younger, obviously I was in a very destructive pattern, and I had no ability to see the pattern that I was in. Um, so when you can't identify your what was the question again?
The adversity, the greatest adversity.
Oh, the greatest adversity. So, yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of them. Well, it was the whole process of going through holy shit. Well, the biggest adversity was losing my son.
Mhm.
That was just absolutely devastating. That kind of a loss just strips you down to nothing. You don't even have a soul anymore. Anything you think of, anything that you believe, any feelings, any thoughts, anything about life, it's gone. It is absolutely gone. Strips you down, and you have to start all over again. And man, there again though, you get to make choices in life. You can get really really bitter and go down the bitter road and do whatever you're going to do down that road. Some people like drug themselves, they drink themselves, they whatever themselves, to cover up that pain. But I didn't do that. I didn't handle that as well as I should have either. I was thinking I was like a therapist, and I was really trying to take care of my children, through that, because I had two other ones. And it's turning out that I didn't do that great of a job. It's like I thought I was talking to them and doing all the right things for them, but turned out that they needed a lot more help than me. And God, they needed some help. They needed some therapy back then, and I think I did try, but I should have tried a hell of a lot harder. So, man, adversity, yeah, there's nothing worse than that. I mean, that never goes away. I mean, that was probably 16 years ago, and there's I'm a different person. I am. I mean, I feel different to this day. I mean, it just transforms you. You're never the same ever, ever, ever again. That trauma is just beyond. But
Mm-hmm.
besides that personal trauma, I've had business, geez, I lost everything. You were right there with me every step of the way, man. That was just absolutely everything that I built was just like gone. And I'm not going to get into that whole story, but you were there, and I really appreciate you being there. I mean, man, I don't know if I could have pulled myself out. It's really important to have people in your life, even if they don't, you offered to help me in all sorts of ways, but just knowing that somebody's there when you're going through that much pain gives you the strength to pull yourself through. So, I can't thank you enough for those days. And that was like a long 5-year pullout. Holy crap. Man, I think I was $1 million in debt back then. Back then, that was a lot of money. And, you know, I paid off every penny of it too. There again, you know, I walked into all my suppliers, I told them the truth, said, Steve, every one of them said, get out of our office, pay us when you can. It's like, wow, are you freaking kidding me? How cool is that?
Well, I think that your world, as you said, there's no one could even relate to, you know, the pain that I witnessed of you losing your son. I mean, and so intuitively, when you recognize this person has just gone through something that I couldn't even begin to wrap my head around, you know, you know who they are coming into that. You know what they're about, and you know and hope and pray that they'll come back. But the other thing you know is, hell, if that was me, would I make it? You know, what would I do? You can't even imagine it. And so, you know, I think it's that everybody knew you well going into that time. So they were praying and betting that you'd find a way out, because that's who you are. And I don't know how you've gotten on the other side of that. I think about it a lot. I mean, I think about you and him a lot. And you know, I've got a kid just about any age, but you know, Andrew was what, 12 when he passed? Yeah. And so, you know, you know, you found a way. That's that internal tenacity that just fought your way back in some way. And so I think it's a privilege to be alongside people who, you know, are giving it everything they've got. You know, that brings out anybody's best. Your suppliers, your subs, you know, they all went, hey, we know that you are giving it everything you've got. You're not trying to stiff us. You're not lying to us. You're not this, you're not that. You just went through hell. And so we're betting on you. We believe in you. And you showed them that they were smart to do so. So, yeah, that one I can't even get my head around. You know, that there's adversity, and there's losing money, and there's losing this and that, and you know, all those things sort of, they're in a whole different category than quite honestly the adversity that you were raised with and losing Andrew. In my mind, those are two things nobody should have to stare at, in my opinion. So, incredible. When I just because we need to shift this up a little bit, because that was a heavy question. I knew it would be tough, but here we are, and you've talked about your childhood, and in this childhood, your installed belief systems, and sometimes adults never look at their belief systems. They try to operate their entire life on whatever was installed. And you have certainly looked hard at your belief systems. What are some of the beliefs that were installed as a kid that you've retained, and you've said, this is a good thing, I believe this? And name a couple that you've completely ripped out and replaced.
Well, the beliefs that I had, I didn't have any beliefs when I was younger until I got all the therapy, you know, to figure out who I was and what I believed. I was like so confused. But the beliefs that got instilled was honesty, always do the right thing, and I had a sense of spirituality. Even though I was raised a Catholic, I'm not a Catholic. I just not a Catholic. I'm spiritual. That's another thing that's really private. I don't like people talking about God. You know, I'm very, very spiritual, but for some reason that's a really sensitive thing to me. I don't know why, because I've been through a lot and I use it a lot, but I don't like people talking about it. You know, it's like, to me, it's personal, but, so, you know, and that's weird. I volunteered in prison systems for like 10 years. met with murderers and rapists, and and I went in there to figured I can help them a little bit, and wound up that they were like helped me a lot more than I helped them, and one thing I learned in there is like people that wind up in prison, there's like two things that happen in their life that allowed them to like lose themselves or to commit murder because they had no sense of self. They've never experienced love, and they never experienced spirituality. And when I was younger, I never experienced love. So I'm like a little bit of a miracle, but I experienced spirituality, but it was twisted spirituality. I was really confused around it. So somehow I was able to connect the two dots. I should have been one of those guys sitting in prison. That's how confused I was, but I never got to the point where I was, I always had something inside of me that knew that I could, do something with my life. I don't know what that was, but so then as I got older, the things, my beliefs that I have instilled in me is that, that I am smart. I never believed that I was smart, so it's really important to, to realize who you are, and that I am smart, and that I am lovable. I didn't even know what the hell that word is, but I know I'm lovable. I didn't never think I was lovable. I never thought I was smart. And those are probably the two,
It's yeah. Tell me a book that you've read that has really resonated with you that you think people should read.
What's his name? Victor.
We talked about this before. You have Viktor Frankl.
Yeah, Viktor Frankl. Gosh, I normally know that off the top of my head. Man's Search for Meaning. I mean, that book really hit me after I did a whole bunch of therapy. This gal handed me the book. She goes, "Hey, you might want to read this." And that really hit me because there's a man. Wow, you always, pain is pain. That's one thing I've learned through life is pain is pain. There's no comparison to my pain to somebody else's pain. Somebody could like have this like really just, to me, might not even be even painful event when they were younger, but man, it was just absolutely devastating to them. So pain is pain. There's no comparison, And then I read this book of this guy. Holy shit, I think he was in prison for 10 or 15 years, concentration camp, and he was like brutalized and tortured like daily, lived in the freaking dungeon. It was all wet and, and had no human contact. And all he could do is like, where they couldn't take anything from him, it was take his thoughts. So he learned how to have positive conversations with himself. They said they could take everything else from me, but they cannot take my mind. They cannot take my thoughts. And that just really resonated with me. It's like, because that's the kind of pain I've been in. It's almost like I was in that kind of a camp, but man, not to the level that he was, but I connected with that. And so that was really relieving, realizing, God, anything can happen to me now. I mean, everything's kind of already happened. I can't think of anything more. It could be more painful, but you keep redoing your patterns though. You have this pattern. So I kept, making things hard because that's all I knew. So I just create hard. So I got used to doing hard, I don't do hard anymore, And so you just can switch the pattern. But, yeah, I don't know if I'm answering that question, but
yeah, well, it's books. They speak to our lives sometimes, not all of them, but this one obviously did. And what's so interesting, Steve, is that, as you summarized his book, that this idea of I can't control the circumstances of my life completely. We all think we're in control. No, we're not in control. But what I can control is I can control the way I think about it. I can control the conversation in my head. I can control my mind. That's an amazing thing. We get to say how we interpret this.
yeah,
Right? And when you can take something as horrific as he went through and have control of your mind and realize that I'm intact here. My body might be beat up. I may be deprived in every way, shape, and form, but I'm choosing in my mind to be whole and to be peaceful and to be solid. Wow, that really is a game changer, because look at all the things that we deal with every day that we think we're in control of, but we're really not. You think about it. You think you are, but you're not. And I think that that's a huge thing. It's back to that. It's back to the equipment of tenacity. How do you stay in there? Well, you stay in there by controlling your mind.
Yep, that's what it is.
It's
and unfortunately, most people in life, their mind has already been shaped, and they don't even realize it. Their mind is running their life versus them running their life, and there's a lot of work that you can put a lot of work into it and spend $500,000 on therapy, or you can just recognize it and you can actually learn how to change your state in a moment.
Right.
You can learn how to have a really strong mind to do that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Tell me what regrets, when you look back on 63 or 4 years of your life, do you have any regrets? You mentioned one, maybe it sounded like a little bit of how you could go back and do things or offer more to your other 2 kids after following Andrew's death. But, I don't know that falls into regrets. You just see it now. But do you look at anything that you go back and go, I wish I didn't do that, or I wished I had done something completely different there? Mistakes.
Well, I mean, none of us are perfect, and my life was like absolutely brutal, man. I had a brutal upbringing, and I spent half of my life trying to fix me, and simultaneously, as I'm trying to fix me, as fucked up as I was, I had kids, I had a wife, I had a business, I had 35 employees, and I'm still trying to fix me with all of this going on. How in the hell could I have all this going on when I'm fucked up? I'm not going to do a very good job, but man, I did the best I could, dude. I worked as hard as I could, and I knew there was something wrong with me when Danielle was born. Man, it's just like having kids, it just changes your life, but also you have emotions that come up that you don't even recognize. And there were emotions that came up from my beatings from my dad. And it was like, wow, man, I got to get some help. These feelings are not good, So,
yeah.
Regrets. It's really hard for me to be loving to myself to regret anything, because, man, I worked really hard, Would I do things differently? Absolutely. With the knowledge I have now, I would have done a lot of stuff differently, but I didn't have this knowledge, I was kind of a mess, and I always worked really hard. I always tried to do the best, and I was a really good father, but I could have been a way, way better father if I was healthier. But it took me a lot of years to get healthy. By the time I got healthy, they're already grown up. Well, that's too late. It's too late.
Right.
So now I'm kind of dealing with some of that. Even like right now, my kids are dealing with stuff but man, I'm really quadrupling down and trying to really be there for them and help them, because that caused problems for them too. This father that wasn't around, this father that didn't really have the empathy that he should have had, and because I didn't have any, I did a little bit, but so isn't that crazy, trying to do life when you don't even have the tools to do life?
I think it frames a motivation to work on yourself so that you really do have as good a chance of contributing to others as you can. Sometimes we're not motivated to work on ourselves just for ourselves, but once kids come along, you really want to try to offer something really good, something really positive. I guess I feel convicted in the same ways you are, is that I feel like I could do a lot better in that category. And but it does motivate me to try to be a better person, to try to understand myself more, to try to undo some of these patterns that you fall into that you don't even realize they're patterns. So you've done the hard work. Let's lighten it up. I have 2 stories, and I'm going to let you pick one, which one you want to tell. and then I'm going to tell the other one.
Number one.
Number two. It's an inside joke.
Okay, we can. Okay, go to the next one.
Right. So there's one story of us hunting involving two different game animals in one day, and you know that story. And then there's the other, which I called my Mr. Nicey story. So I'm going to take the Mr. Nicey story.
Whatever. Okay, go ahead.
Steve and I were blessed to be able to schedule some time off to go to Idaho and go elk hunting. And so we got all of our out-of-state tags, and we made our list of what we had to bring, and the big day came, and the plan is like, okay, he's got this great big huge Ford truck and enough room for all this gear. And so I was going to have everything ready to go at my office, and he was going to come by at noon, and we were going to take off to Idaho and get over there that night and then start hunting the next morning.
But I'm the prankster. I'm the one that always does the
prankster. And he's
so no one can pull shit on me. So
right. He's pranked me 5,000 times in life, and I just never have figured out a way to get him. And I wasn't planning on even trying to get him or anything on this day, but I said, okay, I've got a lot to do. I've got an incredibly busy morning. I'll have everything ready, but I won't be ready to go till noon because of this, but I'll be on time at noon. Everything will be in the garage of the shop. You'll back in, we'll load it up, and we're out of here. And he said, all right. And he's really anxious to get going. So am I, but I had to have that morning to get things done. And so anyway, I'm doing my busy morning. I had all my stuff in the garage at 5 a.m, but now I'm running around doing things and checking crews and this and that. And I came back to the office at about 11 o'clock. And when I walked in, my secretary, Jamie, said, well, Steve was already here to get you. And I went, what do you mean he was here to get me? Noon. He's not supposed to be here till noon. She says, well, he's really anxious to go. So he came by at 10 a.m, and is he here? Let's go, and I told him, no, you're not going to be here till noon. And he's like, damn it. So anyway, Jamie's telling me this story that Steve, all right, I'll go do something for 2 hours and I'll be back. And so he backed his truck out right onto a busy arterial on 76th Avenue West. And when he backed out, there was a car approaching him and who had to put on the brakes pretty hard because he backed out and then was going to take out. And so he backed out, and this lady came and put on her brakes and then just barely just tapped him. Barely, but it was obviously Steve's fault because he backed out into traffic. And so they got out and they just said nothing happened, and they took off. I heard this screeching sound, and I went and saw it, and I saw him exchange numbers. So I'm glad Jamie's telling me, I'm glad no wreck happened and got hurt. And I went, really? So, but did the other car touch his truck? She says, yeah, I think it just barely touched. And she's telling me all this. And I go, this is going to be good. I go, come on, let's go to my office. And I took Jamie in the office, and we took out a towel and put it over the speakerphone. And I dialed Steve's number, his cell number, or mobile number. And Steve Nice. And I disguised my voice, and I didn't know if it would work because I didn't know how to do that. But I went, hello, is this Mr. Nicey? And he goes, yeah, this is Steve Nice, correcting me on, oh, hi, Mr. Nicey. This is Officer Peterson from the Edmonds Police Department. Sir, where are you right now? He goes, who's this? In his brash way. Who's this? I go, Officer Peterson, Edmonds Police Department, sir. We have an APB out for you due to the hit and run that you were involved with this morning at 10 o'clock. And he goes, what? What do you mean hit and run? Mr. Nicey, I need you to lower the tone of your voice, sir. And were you or were you not involved in a collision at the 210th and 76th this morning in the city limits of Edmonds, sir? Yes or no, sir? It wasn't a collision. Nobody hit anything. I mean, she barely bumped me. Oh, so you were involved in a collision, Mr. Nicey. Now, Mr. Nicey, let me be real clear. And I just, you can get the idea of this. I just kept doubling down.
I can't stand when somebody tells me to lower my voice. I mean, he knows he's getting me on everything.
And Billy, he's getting more and more mad. He's getting more and more mad. And I mean, this thing is heating up, right? And I'm saying, Mr. Nicey, you need to pull over right where you are right now, sir, and give us the coordinates of where you are, because I'm sending officers to arrest you at this moment. I'm going to Idaho hunting in an hour. Mr. Nicey, I can assure you, you're not going anywhere except jail, sir. And it's like, what? Anyway, I have him so lathered up. This went on for maybe 15 minutes. I have him so lathered up that he's like, all right, here's where I'm at. I can't believe this is happening. I haven't done anything. And, he's just screaming. And then I waited for the moment, and then I took the towel off the phone, and I said, hey, Steve, quit screwing around. It's like 5 minutes to 12. Get over here and pick me up. And he goes, oh, and he's like, I'm going to kill you. He was just beside himself. Oh my gosh. It was a quiet ride all the way to Idaho. I'm telling you, he picked me up. He was so pissed, but now we laugh. I laugh maybe, but we both laugh so hard about that. That was the greatest prank I've ever pulled.
There's nothing worse when you're going hunting and someone's telling that you're not going freaking hunting. No way. Wow. He had me. Wow.
And I had all this background. Sir, I'm looking at your deck sheet right in front of me. Mr. Nicey, you're a habitual. You don't know what keeping the law looks like. And he's like, and I would throw out these things like the only way you could know that is to know his history. And I was knew him that well, so I'd oh, sir, tell me, I can see right here that you did this and that. And he's like, oh no, he was so convinced I was a cop that oh, that was the best. Okay. That's mine. Now you get the story of me almost killing you.
Wow. Okay, so this is the best story. Probably this is the best story of me and you. It was intense. I mean, you're really intense, and I'm really intense, and you get two intense people together. Wow, what a hunting trip. It's a long story, but I'm gonna make it really short. So we're gonna go to the Blue Mountains and go elk hunting, which is 6 miles up, straight up and down. Guys that are hunters or girls that are hunters, that's intense. You don't hike down. You go 2 steps this way, 2 steps this way. If you have a heavy backpack and you trip, you're not going to stop until a half a mile down. That's how steep it is. I mean, it's crazy steep. So this guy's taking me to his elk tent, and then we're going to go deer hunting at my high camp. You go in there with motorcycles. So 2 really extreme hunts. So we do the elk hunt first, and we get all the way to the bottom, and we bust a freaking elk. And it's like, oh my God, that's 3 days getting that thing out of there. 6 miles up, 6 miles down. I mean, 2 steps up, you got 125 pounds on your back. I was in pretty good shape. He's in really good shape. So I don't know. We were probably halfway, 3/4 something. And man, I am just getting freaking tired. Or was that the second day? No, we made it up the first day. Okay, then we went second day to get the second round. So yeah, I'm on the second round. So yeah, wasn't that bad. But so then, yeah, on the second way up, then it started snowing and blowing and cold. And man, I was just beat, tired. And I wanted to lay down in the snow and just take a nap. I mean, I needed to rest. I mean, I was just physically just shot. And he's taking this gun and poking me in the back. No, he would not let me sit down and frickin' rest. I mean, dude, just leave me alone, man. I just need 5. No, get moving. There ain't no stopping. Fuck, dude. So, man, I just kept going and going. And, but that was really good because after that hunt,
Wait.
Okay, I know. But then we kept going. And then all of a sudden, stupid ass Greg sees some freaking huge running down the mountainside. And I go, dude, leave it alone. He lays his scope on and dumps a freaking bear. The thing goes all the way down 4 miles. We have to go all the way back down to go get this stupid ass freaking bear. And oh my God, are you freaking kidding me, dude? oh my God. But I left my backpack up there, but I took some of my other stuff with me. And man, we had to hike all the way down there, skin out. I mean, it's pitch black. We get down there. I mean, it's hard to find. It's starting to get dark. So we're just tracking blood. And here's that bear. Jumps up on us, man. Oh, it just laid like 2 rounds into that thing. Then it goes down a little bit further. We go down a little bit further. The thing was still not. Bears have a will to live, man. We dumped like 6 rounds into that thing. So finally we skinned it. Greg, God, he takes that freaking bear, the hide and everything, and we have still come back now and get the meat. We got a bear, we got an elk to get, and then he takes that whole freaking bear and puts it on top of his pack along with the elk rack. So he's got a freaking huge ass elk rack, and then he's got a freaking bear on top of his backpack, and then so he's probably packing 185 or I don't know, way up there. I'm 125 or something. Insane. I could barely make it back to camp. I mean, it was like 3, 4 in the morning or something. Everybody's worried about us. I mean, we got up at like 3 in the morning and we're getting back at 4 in the morning, hiking the whole freaking time. And I could not get up the next day. He's up and he's down again. I'm going, holy shit, dude. How do you do that? But you really learn a lot by that. It's like reference point, it's like even in life, when you think you just can't go any further, if you keep going, you go so much further than you realize you can go. And then you build this new reference point. It's like, whoa, no, I don't care. This hurts like hell, but you can still go more, So I learned that from Greg. So that was really cool. And I said, okay, now we're going to go to my camp after this. I literally, I thought I was going to die out there, man. I had zero energy left. I don't know how I made it back to camp. I don't know if you guys have ever been that exhausted. I mean, I was that exhausted. I had nothing left in me. So now we're going to my place. My place is like 25 miles back in with motorcycles. He knows how to ride a motorcycle, but you got to be pretty good on a motorcycle.
Not like you know how to ride a motorcycle.
Yeah, because you're going up deer trails and it's a pitch black, and we get up there, it starts snowing sideways. I mean, we've got like 6, 8 inches, 10 inches, 12 inches of snow. We're only halfway there, and Greg is not really skilled on a motorcycle. I mean, you get really tired if you can't keep your feet up on the pegs. You're going on little trails like this and sheer drop off. You got to keep your feet up, otherwise you get tired. He's trying to balance himself and use his legs all the way up. He's in really good shape, but halfway up, he's out of energy. He goes, dude, we got to stop.
Well, you keep saying the camp is right around the corner, right around the corner. For like 5 miles, you said it's right around the corner.
Well, I hadn't been there for like 2 or 3 years, and it's snowing. 25 miles into the woods.
In the dark.
But I was honestly, I knew he was getting tired. So you do that. Remember you used to do that with your kids, hey, just hang on. We're almost there. We're almost there. We're almost there. Pretty soon that, you're almost there. But
right.
Man, I did that to him like, I don't know, 40 times. And he literally could not make it. He was just beat. And he got off his motorcycle. Goes, dude, I'm done. I can't go. And I swear, I knew we were really close at this point. This was going on for, I don't know, 6 hours, and it's brutal in the snow. And so I go, oh my God, I am not going to set up a camp here. I mean, it's blowing. It's like 40-mile-an-hour winds. I mean, snow sideways, freaking cold. And I'm just going, man, this is going to be brutal. I am not setting up a tent here. I mean, I always have a backup tent, but I have a camp up here that I built like, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. And I haven't been up there since. So I have no idea if the thing is still like standing. It's out in the middle of nowhere. You just take logs and you put logs together and you use Visqueen, and I even brought in a wood stove a long time ago, put it on the back of a motorcycle. Takes all day to do it during the day. You do it in the summer. It's no big deal in the summer. So, and I'm starting to get a little bit nervous because I'm going, wow, when you start getting in a situation where you have to leave somebody behind out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm wondering, gosh, should I mark my trail? Is it snowing too hard? I might lose where he is, I'm just going, okay, this is getting serious. He's not going to go. And there's no, like,
I can't go.
Well, he can't go. He's physically
I'm
out
off
of it.
my bike, laying in the snow, going, I'm done. I'm cooked.
So I couldn't even get him to hike. And I didn't want to hike because I didn't want to leave our packs behind. I wanted to leave my motorcycles behind. So I was in this moment. It's like, holy shit. Okay, so I'm going to really pay attention to the snow. I'm going to pay attention to my motorcycle tracks. And if it starts snowing really hard and I can't see my tracks, then I'm going to stop. I'm going to go mark my trail, mark where Greg is, and I'm going to go try and find this camp. It's like one of those moments. I mean, really tough decision. And so I took off. And then when you're nervous like this, you start second guessing yourself. God, don't second guess yourself. So I caught myself doing that. I said, no, go with your intuition. Go. It's all white and everything's snowing. And I'm just going, okay, God, I think it's here. I took a right, headed deep into the woods. It's right off the trails. And I saw another tree. I go, God, I think it's there. And I think it's there. And fuck, I pull like right frickin' to it. The thing is standing absolutely perfect. Has a door and a hinge. Open it up. I'm going, oh my God, the wood stove's in there. I still have my wood in there. I saw a can of beans. I go, yes. I mean, that is, if you don't believe in God, you know, right there.
Heaven. It was heaven.
Oh, it was complete heaven. I'm going, oh my God. So I left my motorcycle there and I dropped off my backpack and I drove my motorcycle back down to Greg. I go, Greg, I found the place.
He put me on his motorcycle. I just remember grabbing him like this, and he rode me up, took me right to the doorstep, helped me walk in and set me on this bunk, and said, if you can, get a fire going. But he knew I was in there and okay. And then he took off.
Go get the rest of the gear.
Go hike to get my bike and my gear and brought it up. And by the time I was like in a coma, but I got a little fire going because, dry wood and paper and matches. Hell, it was all right there. Who couldn't have got a fire? But
isn't that crazy?
That was unbelievable. Yeah.
And I was exhausted and I was cold. And then you actually did you get the fire going? You got the fire going. Yep. We saw that can of beans. God, we put that can of beans in there, sort of warming it up. And then you start kind of unthawing and we didn't even say nothing to each other for like a half an hour. Then you start warming up a little bit. In 45 minutes, you'll start moving. And it's like, holy shit, dude, this is crazy, you know? And meanwhile, he snapped his fucking gun in half. The gun that we're there to go to shoot a deer, he snapped it in half.
Flipping my bike, it's in a scabbard and it snapped the stock right off of it. And so now I don't even have a rifle to hunt. So we're taking out
it's like, I was going, Greg, you sure we made it here? We'll just you really want to go hunting tomorrow? I was just so freaking freaked and flipped. And he goes, no, we're going hunting. I said, okay, right on, we're going hunting. So then he starts taking his gun and making splinters out of it.
Like a splint, like you'd splint a leg, and I had athletic tape, and I taped the stock back on, and it was real wobbly, but at least and we ended up getting a big deer the next day. We
got up in the morning, we hiked another 5 miles out of camp, and freaking busted a deer. Wow. Yeah. So,
we have, I think, as many stories as anybody could have in 35 years that we've known each other. And to me, I put this in the vault of moments. And once you get to know somebody so well, you can proactively plan moments. You can go, hey, with you, we're going to have moments. We're going to go and do, and they're going to get logged into the moment book, and they're always going to be memorable. To me, that's called trust. And I guess at the end of our podcast today, we always end with a consider. And I'd like to throw this out on behalf of my great friend Steve, to have, if you would, to consider, who is it in your life that you can invest in, knowing that investment will create a lifetime of moments? Who is it that is there for you? Who is it that is not going to leave you no matter what? Who is it that is all in your life? And to me, that's always been my relationship with Steve. Brother, you have been so forthcoming, so transparent, so vulnerable, so everything today. I can't thank you enough. I'm gonna buy you dinner tonight, and as a way of saying thanks. But I believe that if people would rewind this podcast and listen and pull apart the pearls that you've shared, that their life will be better. That is the measure of these endeavors that this podcast is about, and you've over-delivered, in my opinion. So I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And for you listening, again, we're going to keep it raw. We're going to keep it real. Thank you for listening in to this podcast. Until the next one, God bless you. Okay. You did it.
Nice. Wow. So that was just a rough draft, right? Now we're
Was I supposed to have the cameras rolling?